We should be live. Hopefully we're live. We don't have the right logos on at the moment, but I'll get that all sorted out in the mainstream. We are obviously here at Bathurst for round 3 of the RaceFace Season 2. So we at the mountain, which is going to be an interesting run, of course. A very difficult circuit and not one to be undertaken lightly. And a very exciting third round really lined up here. And we're jumping into a quali session at the moment, which I believe we've got 7 minutes remaining of. So for now, we're going to go and look through our leaderboards and just find out where we stand at this point in time and see who's who and who's standing at the top at the moment. So from what it looks like, Daniel Skuman is going to be sitting on pole for the meanwhile with a 201.896. Interestingly, not a single purple sector to his name there, but obviously more consistent across the run. The purple sectors belonging there to Dian Kapp, as well as Kieran Patterson and Morgan McCall. They've all got themselves second, third, and fourth respectively. And then Bruno Kedili sitting in 5th for now. We've got Johannes Kreiling in 6th. Johan Krobler in 7th. Yeah, that's Bagger. Okay, so that's Johan Krobler, not JC Krobler. So there's 2 Kroblers. You'll notice them here. Mark Antal in 8th. Bernard King in 9th. And Jason Gray temporarily in 10th position. So that'll be our top 10 for the meanwhile. We've obviously got 6 minutes remaining here for these guys to still go and get stuff and things done. Plenty of cars on the grid for us to follow through. And what is... Okay, we're just making sure that all the ACC overlays are working and stuff and things. At the moment, it doesn't seem to be Updating. Can we change? There we go. Okay, we can change. Shout out to the chat. Jason in chat. How's it, Jason? How are you doing? Thanks for joining. I thought you would be racing here, but I see, no Jason in the lobby for now. We've got 30 cars though. This is going to be absolutely insane. Let's see if we can just toggle the timing sheets on the main stream on this side so we can just see how close things are. I mean, Dian Cap is literally 100th or 1200ths away from Skuman, with Masters 200ths away from Dian, or from Skuman himself. So literally these guys are within a I guess you could call it a split second of one another. So our top three are going to make a very interesting start indeed. Of course, Keegan Masters here in third. He's not done yet. Going to jump back out and have a run around. Let me just see if I can adjust some of the AC volume here. Give it a little bit more boost. Let's see if that makes a difference. Okay, so I'm just going to boost the AC volume a little bit. It will be a little bit louder for the onboards, but that's just the way that things are structured. So we see an abandoned lap coming out there. We'll go back to Morgan McCall. He comes through Hull Corner to make his run down the mountain straight. Of course, this is a place where you can really wind that motor out and get that top line speed. But really, that's the only place, as well as Conrad, that you'll be able to do that. The rest of the mountain circuit is going to be all about downforce and grip and what you can do to get around. So Morgan McCall is going to fly through and make his run up the mountain now. Makes his way through what is known as the cutting. And then he will go through Quarry Corner. And those are where those BP Ultimate signs are. Very, very narrow section. And you're really on the edge of grip as you throw the car back around. And then you kind of plateau out at the top and make your way through Frog Hollow and down through Salmon Park before going towards Skyline, where, of course, then everything drops away and you make your way back down the mountain. You go through the S's and the Dipper. And Morgan McCall here slams into the wall and gives us a preview of just how dangerous it can be here. Now on track, needs to jump back out of the way of the cars still lapping around. And that's just a little bit of action that we're probably going to see tonight. I mean, we are at Bathurst. We are expecting some good racing. But of course, it's a narrow circuit. So if you do want to overtake, there's a problem. So Jason just informing me that I should read my WhatsApp messages. I think that's just a common trait that a lot of people would say to me, and probably should. Shout out to Kyle Petzer as well in the chat. Good to have you with us. Of course, here at round 3. I was not here for round 2 and round 1 at Zolder. I do believe I've got the standings somewhere here. I think this might be our standings. Yeah, so there you can see... on the left side, I've just stacked up the pro standings. On the right side, we've got the AM standings. It is just a temporary standings hold like layout until I've sorted out all the scenes for RaceFace. But for now, that is our standing board. So, of course, Bruno Kadili up in first for pro. Of course, the pros here racing today are going to be putting on a show. I've said it before, Bathurst and Mount Panorama, just a combo together. Well, they are the same thing, but the combo of this with these kind of skilled racers, I'm excited to see what these guys can put on the board for us. So only a minute and 40 left of quali to go. I believe that Krayling is up on his lap time at this point in the race, or in quali. Let's just see if he is still up on it. A little bit of commentator's curse as we switch over to him, and he drops off that 10th that he was on coming down the Conrad Straight. Of course, driving around in a Lamborghini for Repress Esports, I believe. Hopefully everybody's liveries are up to date with what their team names are. It just makes it so much easier when casting to not have to refer off to other sheets every time jumping around. So if not, then maybe that's something we can get going for the following cast, because it just makes it so much easier to follow who's in what team if their their overlays are updated correctly inside the simulator. So 50 seconds left to go. Krayling not going to better his time, but is going to get another lap out. There really isn't anybody up on their lap time at the moment, so it looks like what I show you here on the timetables is where things go. So Petzner here shouting for Jason Gray. So Jason Gray standing currently in 11th spot for the old Racers Scarlet. This is a livery that I've been told that I do need to give a little bit of airtime to as well. So there's no bribery and corruption, but apparently I need to also praise it as well. So my PayPal is linked in the description. I'm just kidding. We don't accept those things here. We'll just talk about whatever car is doing the best things in the race, really. And for now, you got to put yourself in the race to do that. And everybody here getting around and setting a quali time. So nobody unable to complete a quali time, which is pretty much what we expect from our pro division here at RaceFace.Pro. These guys have definitely put the hours into the simulator. Keegan Masters going to run a little bit wide in his... oh, it wasn't Keegan Masters there. That was that Bagger? Was that Bathurst that ran wide there? I believe it was. Oh, it was Mr. Bathurst from RaceFace for Team Wolf. So Bathurst going to be struggling to get around here. Throw a little bit of bant towards Bathurst, of course, the race organizer and owner of RaceFace. I know he'll appreciate that. So Bathurst setting himself into 30th place here in the pro lobby. Probably better than I could do as well. You know, I'm not here to race. I'm here to commentate, and that's exactly what we'll do. So everybody here deserving their spots. And of course there's AM lobbies as well as Pro Am, I believe, in the RaceFace series. So if you guys are keen to sign up and get involved, just make sure you head over to the website, RaceFace.Pro, or head over to the Discord channel. It's all alive and popping. There's plenty of members. There's always a chat going down. If you need help with something, there's always someone there to help you out. So we see Lisa Patterson in the chats shouting for Kieran. So Kieran currently sitting in 4th place on the grid, obviously on screen for Patterson Works Racing. And he's going to get a bit slidey as he comes out to try and finish off his lap. And he will be the last guy out on track at the moment as we head over. Oh no, Daniel Rowe. Daniel Rowe's still out there for G4 Sim. So Daniel Rowe going to cross over onto the finish line as we wait to get onto the grid. There we go. So we're onto the grid. Hopefully we can drive up, ready up. ACC doesn't always let me jump straight into our broadcasting cameras, which I'm not 100% sure why it does that. So it's a little bit strange. Let's just see if we can do it. There we go. So I can do a little run down the order. Let's see if we can bring up some name tags there. We'll just go on to blank, and hopefully this all works out, and this all works out. Yes, it's working, kind of. There we go. Okay, so we got Skuman and Cup on the front row of the grid. Second row would be Masters and Patterson. Then we got McCall and Kadili. And we got Hrayling and Bago. Then we got Antel and King, Gray and Kruger, Berger and Isherwood, Sienarain and Rowe, Meyer and Vogel, Hatting and Grobler, Strauss and Janssen, Gaber and von Mansberg, Buck and Hendricks, Patterson and Pirelli. And at the back of the grid, we've got De Vet and Hugo. So that will be our starting grid. Of course, everybody going to go out on track and go and do a warm-up lap. So we'll do a full formation lap for the drivers. I'll take off the name tags until we get racing, because that makes it easier to follow the action. But for now, we'll take it off while we cruise around the mountain for our out lap in about 30 seconds. And it's now time to place your bets and hype up whoever you think is going to take the win here today. So, of course, Daniel Skuman are going to be starting in pole position. And he's going to have Dian Cup and Keegan Masters in second and third, chasing down hard. But don't discount Patterson, McCall, Kadili, Hrayling, Grobler, Antal, King, Gray, Kruger, Berger, Isher. I mean, the list goes on. The names of these pro racers that I'm familiar with seeing. We are going to see an insane race. And we are getting our engines warmed up, I believe. Skuman going to lead us away in his green and black Porsche. The DS Motorsport number 37. Going to lead us away as we begin what should be an insane hour and 25 minutes here at Bathurst. Petsa, how do you do commentating for the race? If you're keen, definitely hit up myself, GMax, on Twitter, or on get hold of Bathurst Hugo through the Discord and see if we can get you in the booth. I would love to see some more commentators coming out into the scene. So if you guys are keen to come and try it out, it's a lot of fun, and I'd always appreciate a couple of new names and a couple of new voices in the commentary booth. So if you guys are keen to come out and join me, do hit me up. I would be very keen to get you involved. Griffin's Bend going to see the back end of the front of our pack as they start their way up the mountain, going through the cutting. It's obviously a full pack of cars, and they're going around in single file. A beautiful sound as these GT3 cars kind of purr their way around. It's not quite at that level where they're roaring away. You're just generating some tire warmth. You're hoping that you've fueled correctly for this outlap as well. It's going to be an awesome race. Kyle, what setup do you need? You pretty much just need a microphone and access to Discord, and we could do some commentary together. I can stream the POV through, and you literally a microphone, Discord, and we can get you in the booth. So literally, it's super accessible. If you guys are keen, please, let's get something going. So Grobler here, this will be Baggo, Johan Grobler. Starting in 8th, a difficult place to really start in the mid-pack. You're still in the top 10, but plenty of cars in front of you that you've got to navigate and make room for, especially on the opening lap. So they come around through Forest's Elbow and make their way down onto the Conrad Straight. The slowest time they will go, of course, down this part of the track. Weaving now, trying to generate some last-minute tire warmth as well. And soon they will line up side by side and get ready to go. What a beautiful sight we see as our pack of pro cars comes down through the chase. The corner, of course, that you take at quite a high speed. Tapped out, in fact, in these GT3 cars. And 2 by 2 they'll go as they come underneath that iconic liquid moly bridge. Murray's corner will be the final corner before they make their way down the start-finish straight. And 2 by 2 they will go. So, of course, at the front of the pack, Daniel Skuman and Dian Kapp will be fighting out. We got a McLaren versus a Porsche. Well, it's quite a few Porsches, in fact. Let's bring up some name tags here as well. Will make it easier for us to follow. Green light, we are racing at the mountain, and Skuman going to leave the door open on the inside, but that's for him to give himself a good run on the outside. And Masters, he's got the run on Dian Kapp there, so Masters going to jump up in front of Kapp. So Kapp, who did start on the outside, seems to have lost out to Masters, and down the back of the pack, it looked like we had a good clean start down the order. Some changes in position going to definitely happen as they come side by side down the order. I see Gray going to come around the outside. Berger and Isherwood going to come around the outside. Let's see if we get some helicam footage of this. So Berger is going to get ahead of Isherwood as he has to tuck back in as he makes their way up. There's been a crash and a collision as they start their way up. So yellow flag's going to come out. Hopefully that's not going to collect too many cars. Did manage to get himself parked on the outside. but I don't know who that was who's dropped down the order there. Was that von Monsberg? It was. So von Monsberg having a big off. Let's see if we can see what's happened here. So von Monsberg, from the helicam point of view, let's see what's happened. So he's going to come up. He's going to have 3 cars coming to have a look, and he's had a collision with the Porsche, and he's actually collided with that Ferrari as well, and unfortunately there for him is not going to come out on top of it. Not a good start coming out from Mansberg. Unfortunate, but Daniel Skuman, he got a great start. He's leading the class away as they come down the Conrad Straight. The rest of the mountain was not something that we managed to catch as we watched that replay, but it's all about Daniel Skuman now and Keegan Masters. Sorry, my correction there. Keegan Masters, Dian Cap, they're all in a little pack together. Then we've got Morgan McCall. He's caught up with Kadili as well as Grayling. Krobler, he's got himself a little bit of free air in 7th place there, as well as King. And this could all be from that bunch up down the mountain. We see some incidents at the back. Krobler going backwards. That's JC Krobler. He's had an incident there as well. I'm not sure that we can see he's jumped back out. A little bit of controversy on the opening lap at the mountain. I said it was going to be an interesting start. And a couple of guys obviously getting a little bit angsty to get things away. And unfortunately there have been a couple of collisions. But that's worked out for the likes of Bathurst Hugo. He's managed to jump himself up to 22nd, of course, starting back in 30th at the start. So he's in 21st at the moment. Make that 21st. He's found another position. I believe someone has dropped out entirely. We've got 29 drivers. I think that JC Krobler may have dropped connections. So yeah, we're down to 29. Bathurst Hugo's jumped himself up. In the mid-pack, Bruno Kadili is still going to be hanging on to the back of... that's Grayling. Grayling is going to be battling against Kadili here. Let's jump on board with Grayling as they make their way down through the mountain, down the dipper. Kadili gonna have his hands full. Of course, Johannes Grayling for Repress Esports, a talented driver. And now in the... I do this all the time. In the Lamborghini. And a car that is definitely been improved with updates in this simulator. And it's great to see a lot more of them being picked up here. Of course, it looked like a bit of a Porsche battle at the start of our outlap, but only 3 Porsches in the top 5 remain. And then we've got a McLaren, a AMG Mercedes, and of course this beautiful sounding Lamborghini. So Kadili going to hold off for the moment. Our battle next on track that I want to have a little look at looks like Gaber on Meyer. So of course Porsche on Porsche action here. Meyer in the red and gold Porsche in the front, Gaber in that black and green Porsche behind for Team Tryhard, the number 51. They're going to make their way down through Murray's, down the main straight to begin their second lap here. And of course, not quite on the money to make a mark, but down the start-finish straight, anything can happen. I see Buck coming out of the pits, so he's obviously a lap down here. He's had to jump into the pits there for damage, and this is going to make for an interesting run down the mountain straight. He's going to have to give up some positions to cars. Ansel wants to get by. Buck is going to let him by, doesn't want to give away too much time, of course, wants to chase down and see if he can unlap himself in this situation. But he's going to be finding himself caught up with a bunch of cars that are going to be, wanting to get past, going to be seeing the blue flag. So Buck is going to be losing time trying to catch back up. So Sienna Rain here, running around in 11th place. Amrish, the number 27 for Geek Races. Amrish doing a great job. I'm a fan of that blue Bentley, of course. Bright blue, sky blue, blue accents, black rims, and a little bit of blue detailing around the outside. So down Skyline he will go. He's chasing down on to Mark Antel, that white and green Porsche in front. He's racing the number 111 and holding himself within the top 10. And that's where you want to be. The top 10 is always a goal when you come to race. If you can get into the top 5, even better. Top 3, fantastic. You win the race. well, that's just a, you know, a cherry on top. And Skuman at the moment seems to be uncontested. What has happened, though, is Keegan Masters has lost out to Deon Cap. So Deon Cap has slid on by in his 2Cs Motorsport McLaren. Blue, white, and black 720S going to slot into second place. And Keegan Masters, big mistake coming out, slams into the barrier. And McCall going to get an easy pass. And Kadili also going to be wanting to capitalize off this. So Masters has definitely not had a good exit coming out of either Murray's or Hull corner. And now down at the mountain straight, an easy pass will come in for that Mercedes from Kadili, as will Grayling. Gonna have a little look, so you can see that Masters has compromised that car. That slam is going to send him into the pits, I'm most certain of it. He will be losing out on the top end and will probably struggle with downforce too. So Masters slamming into the barrier after the entry to the start-finish straight, which is not going to be ideal for trying to get back on round. And I'm sure he's wrestling at the moment to keep his Porsche competitive with the boys that have just taken him. And yeah, you're going to see him lifting and just, yeah, the curbs on this Porsche, the curbs with this Porsche now, not going to be best of mates. So it'll be interesting to see if Keegan Masters decides to jump back into the pits or not. Trying to see where we've got some more action happening between two cars on track for position. King and Kruger, they've 3/10 behind each other coming down onto Conrad. Matching Lexuses, both racing for Rad Races. So this will be a fight between teammates and obviously in a communications channel with one another, working together to get themselves through the pack. They can work with the slipstream. So a good position here for the Rad Races in 7th and 8th. Then we've got what looks like Bago chasing down onto... Would it be Hutting for position? Yeah, Hutting would be for position. Buck still getting caught up in traffic here and just unfortunately not managing to get his footing in this race at all. Buck is having to yield positions. You see him in that Audi in the background jumping out the way. And Bago luckily will be able to hunt down on that orange McLaren from Hutting in front of him. Newer Hendricks, he's got Janssen trying to take a position of his hands. It looks like a battle of manufacturers at the moment. We've got two Ferraris here from Janssen and Hendricks battling it out. So Janssen driving for Mission Spinal and Hendricks driving for Amped to Play. Two very noticeable liveries and definitely not teammates working together this time round in matching manufacturers. These two Ferraris will be fighting on track to see what they can do. Both of them looking great on the exit through the cutting. It's a three-way Ferrari battle. Let's just add Pirelli into the mix as well. So Pirelli also changing down or chasing down on Janssen and Hendricks. And of course Hendricks needs to be careful that he doesn't lose out on multiple positions in situations like this. Three cars coming in, making their way down the mountain, all battling for position. Of course, back in that Audi, he's a little bit out of position. He's running in 27th at the moment, getting caught up in some damage early on. Not something that's going to work out in an hour and 25-minute race, unfortunately. So down onto Conrad. Hendricks is still going to hold off on Janssen. So it was all about that exit on Forest Elbow. Doesn't let Janssen get close enough to work the slipstream. I mean, you see that slipstream coming into effect right at the end before they come into the chase. But it's not enough before they slam on the brakes. And that's a lot of curb from Hendricks and a lot of grass too. Janssen going to go around the outside under the Liquid Moly Bridge. Side by side they'll go as they make their way down to Murray's. Janssen will be on the inside. Hendricks on the outside. But Janssen has got the work done. Will Hendricks be able to get something done with a bit of an undercut? It does not look so, as Hendricks looking for something. He will have the run down the mountain straight, will have the slipstream if he just plays it patiently enough. So it will be about the exit here as all 4 cars settle into a little train. Patterson there is that number 20 position, so he's going to be wanting to pass Buck to try and see if he can unlap him. Oh, Buck has actually got past Pirelli, so Pirelli and Patterson there are battling for position, whilst unfortunately Buck is caught up in the middle of it. So Buck seems to have the pace on Pirelli to unlap himself, but is caught up with the blue flag, so has to yield positions, and this is played into Patterson's hands. So Patterson, who was caught up in some damage, is going to be making his way up the field, and he wants to get past Pirelli. Buck isn't holding either of these 2 drivers up, so this is just played out perfectly into the hands of Patterson to try and get some work done onto the back of Pirelli. Try and find himself a number 19 spot, which Pirelli gate holds at the moment. And Buck, big mistake, hasn't caught anybody, but side by side they'll go. This is not a place you can. Patterson doing the right racecraft thing, backing out down the inside. Will settle as they go down on through the dipper and through the S's. Pirelli is going to hold off Patterson for now, but of course they've still got that long Conrad straight for something to happen, and Patterson's had a great exit. Pirelli, not a great exit. Patterson going to slot in behind, try and make use of the slipstream. Patterson trying to find a way past. Pirelli needs to commit to a line. It looks like he kind of moved from the middle of the track over to the left, but it's not enough for Patterson to get anything done yet, and Pirelli once again will hold off. Patterson clearly the faster driver, just being held up a little bit, but Pirelli trying to stay defensive and keep Patterson completely honest. So Keegan Masters and Bruno Kedili will be scrapping it out next. Looks like Keegan Masters having dropped down to 6th place there. So Keegan Masters wanting to find his way back up onto the podium, of course. Bruno Kedili, our current championship leader, will also be wanting to find himself as many points as possible. Won't be happy with 5th for now. But with an hour and 11 minutes to go, still anything can happen. Pit stops still need to go down. There's mandatory stops for the guys to complete. Kedili has bailed out and jumped across the runoff zone. Has not allowed Masters to get anything done there. Kedili will continue to hold off on Masters. And, sometimes I've seen in live stewarding decisions that in those kind of, with no time gained, it's there for the game to give you a drive-through penalty, the in-game stewarding system. So if you dive out and go through there and don't gain an advantage, you won't be given a drive-through. If you go through there and obviously just cut it entirely and gain an advantage, you will get warned for it. So that was completely legal from Bruno, but up the inside, Masters going to send it. Bruno going to be wanting to cut back. Masters did have a bit of an oversteer exit, and Kedili a very wide one onto the grass, and this is going to allow Kruger to just slot on in between. So Kruger, the icing on top there, is going to come in and take a position, and that will be 6th place for Kruger. Kedili going to find himself sitting in 7th now, and a little 3-way battle really for 5th, which Masters currently holds off. Keegan Masters in the number 20, the Porsche at the front of the train. And you just see that slipstream effect working out. Kruger going to pull out, and he's got past Masters here. That Lexus going to outgun what looks like a slightly damaged Porsche as well. So maybe aero compromise, but Kruger going to take 5th. Masters slots into 6th. Kedili stays unchanged in 7th. And King is now also starting to enter into the fray. So we know that the Rad Racers are both racing together, King and Kruger. Kruger at the front of this little pile, and his teammate encroaching. This is the perfect place to find yourself, really, if you want to get your teammates in the action. You control where the You know, the following cars are going to be in their pace. You obviously don't want to lose out on your corners, but nothing going to stop you from slowing down your pace a little bit, bunching up the pack, and allowing your teammate to get into a battling position there. So Dian Cap there just going to pass on a backmarker Berger. Currently sitting in second, a bit of a hot lap simulator, it feels like, at the front. Daniel Skuman is running down. You do see Cap in the background, but it's a massive gap that Skuman has built up already. We haven't even hit the 1 hour mark in the race just yet. And Dian Cap has got a long way to go if he loses out time to Skuman like this through the rest of the race. But at the same time, you never know if the driver in front is going to be murdering their tires. We do know that Dian Cap likes to save on those tires. Saw in the Dominus race last night that he just went almost a full stint without having to pit. Didn't even feel like he needed to pit at the end of an hour with the way that he treated his tires. So possibly just going a little bit lighter on them. Has to be careful though, because of course if he is too easy on it, McCall will be there to snatch away an advancement in that podium position finishing. Of course, third place is good, second place is better, first is the best. Fourth place almost feels a little bit like the first loser, but it's not a nice thing to say. Fourth place is a good place. It's a top 5 finish. Janus Kreiling going to be holding that down. And a great drive coming out from the Lamborghini. I mean, this is all provisional. Things can change up. But as they stand, Kruger in 5th, Masters in 6th, Bernard King in 7th, Bruno Kadili in 8th, Amrish Sunarain in 9th, Barry Mayer in 10th, Paul Gaber in 11th, Corne Strauss in 12th, Francis Vogel in 13th. So that battle between Strauss and Vogel could heat up. I am seeing alerts in my timing sheet that we do have some action on track between these two. Then we've got Grobler. This will be Johan Grobler in 14th. Hutting in 15th. Sebastian Janssen in 16th. Mark Antal in 17th. 18th for Kieran Patterson. I keep doing that, and I'm sorry. Noah Hendricks in 19th. Marco Pirelli in 20th. 21st for Bathurst Hugo. 22nd for Heinrich de Vet. Alan Patterson in 23rd. So this is obviously the father-son team. Jason Gray in 24th. Jason Gray actually just getting murdered coming down after Skyline. Smashes into the barrier. And that is going to definitely put that Bentley in a bit of a compromised position. 25th will be von Mansberg, who... Oh, Gray was actually in position here with von Mansberg. So von Mansberg and Rowe not in the same lap as these guys, but of course trying to unlap himself. Doesn't look like the Bentley's losing out too much. Rowe is going for it. Unlapping himself on von Mansberg, as well as trying to do the same thing onto Ish. So Gray going to jump into the pits. Antal into the pits.
The pit is now open.
Pit window is only just opened up now. So a couple of guys going into the pits maybe a little bit early. Maybe that was why they were going a little bit slower coming into it, to try and get a valid pit window entry. So Mayer going to jump in. Grobler in. Gray in. Antal in. Buck in. Well, I believe Buck has possibly retired. So Sean Buck has retired. He was not able to get his unlapping going, and you know, at that time we saw him struggling to get himself around, and every time he was trying to get something done, there was another car there to be blue flagged by. It was just an unfortunate start. So unfortunately, Sean Buck, our second retiree. 28 drivers remain. Skuman leads the way. Coming up to our hour mark shortly. Battle on track here between Masters and Kadili once again. I feel like we'll see this a couple of times to and fro. I mean, that Porsche of Masters does look a little bit scrapped up. So I feel like Kadili not quite on the pace of the Porsche, but with that damage, maybe going to get the move done. Coming down into Griffins. Kadili has done it before the Apex, so will move himself up into 7th place. And this is Sienerain also into the scrap. So Sienerain in 9th, he's going to be looking for something on Masters. He's also going to get the move done. So Masters going to drop back 2 positions. Slamming into the wall again. Masters not having a great time at the mountain at the moment, and maybe just letting those 2 drivers by. Maybe going to be taking his pit stop on the end of this lap and not needing to fight it out. But Sienerain and Kadili, these 2 are now once... Oh, I think it's the first time they've got onto track together at this point in the race. I think Sienerain's had a great drive to get all the way through to being able to fight against Kadili here. It is the battle for 7th place. Down the order, Corne Strauss. We saw him and Vogel getting a little bit close. And it looks like Strauss in his Audi for EKZ Motorsport, the number 55. Going to hold Vogel at bay for a little bit longer. Patterson and Hutting. Now a battle on track. I see Jason Gray has a 30-second stop-go penalty in 23rd place. So he's going to have to serve that. And that's a bit of a bummer. I mean, coming into the pit, stopping, 30 seconds, nothing happens to the car. And then driving out. It's essentially a tire change is what can happen in that time, and you're not allowed to do anything. So Patterson through the chase. Closer to Hutting and getting it done on the outside. A swish bit of driving coming down to Murray's corner. Gray going to jump into the pits there to go and serve that stop-go penalty, I believe. That Ferrari from Sebastian Janssen that you see on screen as well. That is also a car that is here for position on the same lap as Patterson and Hatting. A little bit down the field, 1.7 seconds from Hutting. Bats is Hugo. The man who started at the back. Up into 16th place. So consistent driving really more important than those qualifying starts. And this is going to be bearing testament to that. So Hugo, the number 84 Team Wolf Bentley. Jason Gray behind, not for position. And doesn't look like Gray has actually cleared his... Did he get another stop-go penalty? So I'm not sure what's happened to Jason Gray here. But the old racer's Scarlet, number 29, has definitely gone into the pits twice. Neither has been for a pit stop. There's another stop-go penalty. So I'm not sure if it was clean. So Hugo going to get on the brakes. They're going to let Gray go through. Gray obviously on the rush to try and get back to that pit lane to try and serve the stop-go penalty. Needs to be careful not to get a third one. I believe at some stage you are going to be completely obliterated and be disqualified from the race if you pick up too many of those. So Jason Gray, unfortunate for him. So Keegan Masters into 20th position. Of course, you'll have noticed he's dropped down the order. He has served his mandatory pit stop. That green marker next to his number will indicate that he has gone into the pits and has complied with his mandatory stop. Who else do we see on this board that has gone into the pits? So, looks like Patterson or Hugo hasn't gone into the pits. So maybe some of the positions that he has made up into this positioning will be based on some of the pit stops. So bear in mind, Hugo will change up some positions. Noah Hendricks yet to go into the pits, currently in 14th place. 9th to 14th really hasn't gone into the pits. Let's see if I can toggle the screen up here. This is a better way to see it. There we go. So first, all the way up to our current 14th place are yet to go into the pits. Bruno into 15th. He's gone into the pits. Going to be exiting now. So the front runners of our pit stops, Bruno Kadili, Keegan Masters, and I believe Marco Pirelli at the end of their pit stops there. But of course, Daniel Skuman running up the road isn't going to be too concerned about any of those undercuts that drivers are doing at the moment. He has built himself up a 7.5 second lead, is it, at the moment? Let's just double check this. Oh, it's actually dropped down. It's 4.7 seconds from Skuman to Grayling. Of course, the order shifted up a little bit, so the Lambo goes into second. Morgan McCall still staying out into third place. Dian Cap, he's lost out big time. He was driving around in second place. He hasn't gone into the pit stops, or gone in for a pit stop. The number 321 currently in fourth. Kruger not too far down the road from Cap. 3.3 seconds to be precise, according to the precise ACC timings. And his teammate King, 2 seconds down the road. So good driving from the Rad Racers. Cianaren in 7th. 8th for Paul Gaber. 9th for Francis Vogel. And 10th for Kieran Patterson. So an interesting change up from our start of the race, other than Daniel Skuman. He's most definitely not changed things up. He's just run away with things at the front. I am hoping that to some extent Grayling dials it in. I mean, he's 3.8 seconds now down the road, so Grayling is definitely making up time. Let's check their last lap times. So Grayling's last lap time at 203.093. Skuman a 204.053. Best lap coming out from Grayling is a 203 almost dead. Oh, actually, both of them have done 203 almost dead. It's 203.093 for Johannes Grayling and a 203.087 for Skuman. So both drivers on the pace. Last lap from Skuman was a bit of a off-marker one from him. But if he makes a couple more mistakes like that, Grayling's pace and consistency does seem to be working in his favor. McLaren and the Ferrari continue to see what is going on in that battle for 9th and 10th. Hutting will be in that orange McLaren with Janssen in that red and black Ferrari in the background, the number 64. And it's great to see, a variety of cars. There aren't too many of them. We do see the two lonely McLarens, Cap and Hutting, driving those around. A couple of Ferraris for sure. Some Audis too. Buck was driving in one of them. Corne Strauss in the other. So Strauss here, a lot of open air. He does have Bathurst Hugo in the background. It's actually a battle between Hugo, De Vet, And I don't think Grobler's in that battle. So Grobler's running around in 24th, but still trying to use the slip of the faster cars in front of him. At the moment, De Wet, he will be the car in battle with Hugo, that purple and black Bentley. So that will be for position, and Grobler is just there to try and unlap himself and get some positions on the board. So Grobler has gone into the pits. So for now, the cars in front of him are still to make their pit stop. So it's all about making sure that you don't throw it all away. You just got to take it easy. Oh, and this is exactly what's just happened to Grobler. Let's see if we can get a replay of this. So as we were talking about it, I saw him disappear out of De Wet's camera angle. Coming up to the top of the mountain. It does plateau out, and this is a difficult left-hander. Two of them, in fact, that you come up to. And you just got to be careful of the curbing. And, oh, Bago. A big hit to that Mercedes, and stuck up in the middle of the track, trying to drive himself out of the way. Gets off track and hopefully will manage to get himself round to the pits, but that's going to be a big off. So it looks like more positions have been lost for Cap. Was it? Okay, it's a pit stop that has been done. So he has done his pit stop. Cap will get past Hendricks for position on track. Hendricks hasn't done his pit stop yet. Hendricks looking a bit squiggly out of the cutting. I'm going to allow Cap to make his way into the top 10. Of course, pending pit stops for cars in front. So Patterson, the lapped car there, going to go past on Hendricks. Boris Elbow can be such a punishing exit, and Patterson going to see exactly what's happened there. So again, they will change positions. Conrad Straight's not a place you want to have a bad exit out or before. And Patterson going to find out why right then and there. Berger and Antle close on track, but not for position. 17th for Berger, for Patterson Works Racing as well. The number 24. Antle running around in 26th for the moment. Berger hasn't done his pit stop just yet. Antle has. Oh, Hutting has just picked up stop-go penalty for speeding in the pits after completing his pit stop. You can just see all of these small little mistakes start to add up at the end of the day. The most consistent driver will come away victorious so far. To recap, with 49 minutes to go, Skuman, the number 37 for DS Motorsport in his Porsche, doing the stuff and things. Grayling, where does he sit for now? As he closed down the gap to Skuman, he hasn't. He's lost some time. He's 5.7 seconds down the road. His last lap here was a 206.7. So Grayling has dropped down. His last lap was the reason for that happening. And Skuman will get some more breathing room. He wants to build up that buffer. Krayling potentially going to be considering an undercut in terms of his pit strategy. If he is making mistakes and finding that the car is feeling a bit unsettled, might want to throw it into the pits. But it's all going to be down to what lap times he pulls out now. Let's just see if the consistency is back. Could have just been an off lap. Kruger for the Rad Races into third. Sebo Malorto in the chat. Thomas Ferreira. Keegan Sanderson. Andy Wilbert. I see all you guys there. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Everybody that is doing stuff and things. Gray's here. We've also got Colin Hasty. We've got Shani. We got Sean, Godfather. Gaz is here. Of course, Alaric too. Guys, thanks for all tuning in. So Kadili and von Mansberg. Not going to be a fight that von Mansberg wants to take. He needs to still go in and do his pit stop. Kadili having done his. Just blipping on our radar and letting us know that there was a fight on our hands. Skuman now going to come and catch some of these back markers. We call them back markers, but they are currently running in 16th place. So Skuman is really giving it the beans. Von Mansberg going to lift down the end just before they get through the right-hander. Skuman now just got to get past Kadili. And then we'll have some free air away from a couple of cars on track. But of course, a circuit like this is bound to be packed. Different pit strategies coming in mean that cars are going in at different times. Some incidents at the start definitely spread out the field. Our cameraman tries to find what's happening on track. Hugo going to let Patterson by, it looked like. To see if we can pull up our timetables for the moment. There you can see we've currently done 18 laps for our leaders. A bunch of guys still obviously out on their 17th lap. They'll be running through and completing them. You also get a little sense of some of the handicaps that have been added in. So Kadili driving with 50 kilos additional. Krabbe with 30 kilos. And 10 kilos for Bago. I'm actually not 100% sure on all the on all these side of things. I must definitely find out how this works. If someone in the chat knows why there are some handicaps for people. I mean, Kadili, I'd give him a handicap because he's just too fast. All of these guys that have handicaps, are they just too fast? Have they just been handicapped because they're fast? I feel like that's good. I feel like we should handicap everybody that I should race against. 700 kilos, and then I could win. So let's just double change over. Every time we change our camera angles, we lose our nice little timing totem. So I'm kind of surprised to see that we didn't see a closer gap between 6th, 7th, and 8th. I thought that we would kind of see some more happening there, but I believe at the moment we'll all be a bit shuffled up because of the pit stops. So it's not really a good indicator of where things are at. I mean, there's still 24 minutes for these guys to go and do their pit stops. Morgan McCall currently in 7th place. Cianrain, he's going in to do his mandatory stop. So he did go in 9th. So it'll be interesting to see where he comes out. It was a quick stop for Cianrain there. I really am a fan of this blue Bentley paint job that's going on here. I don't want people to quote me as a Bentley fan, but you know, if you paint it that way, it can definitely appeal to me. I'm not sure what it was about it. Another pit stop being served here by Heinrich de Vet. So we'll start to see a lot of the guys coming into the pits, I believe. I mean, for now, guys like Kreiling. Okay, so Kreiling will go. Okay, so Skuman finally goes in. There we go. So Skuman going to go into the pits first. Oh, he's damaged his car. He's damaged his... I want to see if we can actually just go and... we'll cheat the system. We'll use a replay here. And we'll see if we can just go and find... let's see if we can toggle the HUD up here. Let's go and find Skuman. So he was trying to pass some back markers, it looked like, and and he smashed into the vet as well. It's a big hit from Skuman. So Kreiling gets by, manages to avoid it. So Kreiling actually going to resume the lead there, and I mean the damage that Skuman's incurred could actually potentially be race ending in terms of coming out on top after the pit stop. So he's not going to be able to do everything that he wanted. He either has to repair some damage or he has to just skip it. But either way, Kreiling just needs to keep it on the black stuff now and have a good race till the end of the race. He's obviously still got to do his pit stop, but this is exactly where we saw our race leader who led for so long have such an incident. But Kreiling now, for Repress Esports, will take over the lead. That's why I love racing. Anything can happen. And at Bathurst, it's so easy to bin it, and there's very little place to save it. So Amrish Cianrain is going to be in 9th place for the moment. I think that's 7th place. So 7th place for Amrish. What a jump up there. So he's got King in front of him by 6.1 seconds. All comes down to their pace that they get. So obviously the last lap that Cianrain had was a pit stop, so we can't see what his race pace is for the moment. Best times though to King and himself, Cianrain is 2/10 quicker. So King up the road with 40 minutes to go could be caught by Cianrain by the end of the race based on their pace. Bathurst Hugo in 10th place. He hasn't yet gone into the pit, so his lap time 2:07.659, his best. He's really just kind of running in the mid pack in 10th place here because of extending his pit stop for the moment. Not sure if that will punish him or work out at the end. I'm keen to see where he does come out, but gonna look to extend it right to the end of that pit window. So Daniel Skuman comes out. It does look like a brand new Porsche. That means that he has repaired it. Will come out in 8th place. He's got Kadili right behind him. But we do know that Skuman has the pace to lead the race. We saw him running away with things. He was building up a bit of a buffer. But really good drive coming out from Kreiling. So Kreiling will go into the pits. Will be interesting to see where he comes out. He just wants to obviously see where he's going to come out compared to McCall. Why won't this thing just stop AC? I can't do it. So McCall, having done his pit stop, coming down Conrad straight, we're going to kind of jump between these two views. So going to come through the chase. Grayling still in the pits. Going to go towards the Liquid Molly Bridge. Grayling still in the pits. Murray's corner. Will Morgan McCall have enough? Grayling not yet moving. Oh, Grayling, there's the budge. He's down off the stands. Down the start finish. Straight comes McCall. Will he pass Grayling in the pits? He does. So McCall, our new race leader, Morgan McCall, gets the jump on the pit stop side of things and will come out in front of Grayling. And now we'll be up to that Lamborghini to do some more chasing to see if he can chase up to McCall. Thomas Ferreira requests to see a little bit of Jason Gray. Of course, you can see some Jason Gray. So Jason Gray has featured a couple of times on the stream already. Unfortunately, not for the best circumstances. He finally goes into the pits, which for what feels like the fifth time or fourth time now. This time was to do his mandatory stop. Before that, he had to serve a stop-go penalty. I think he also had to do some repairs to his car because he was in the pits a couple of times. I think he picked up 2 stop-go penalties, or one of them didn't clear. So unfortunately for Jason Gray, the old racer's Scarlet, 21st position will be where they come out after the mandatory stops, and nobody in front of them still needs to do a stop, I do believe. I could stand to be corrected. Let's just see. Okay, so Hugo, von Mansberg, and Berger in 10th, 11th, and 12th do have to do their mandatory stops. Hugo is going to be starting his now. Von Mansberg going to be doing his as well. So it will only be Berger yet to pit, and then we will have had all of our pitters in front of Gray. Daniel Rowe in 25th also needs to do a little bit of pitting. So let us run through the full order as we come up to the 36-minute mark. We got Morgan McCall in first. We got Johannes Grayling in second. Jan Kapp in third. Brandon Kruger in fourth. So, of course, the Rad Race is really dominating here. We saw them lapping around. Oh, I saw a McClizzy going off the outside. The orange McLaren is out. And will be rejoining the track. Kruger and Bernard King, though, the Rad Racers. Hutting there does finally rejoin. Have been having a great race. So they find themselves in 4th and 5th, respectively. Sienna Rain in 6th place for Geek Racers in that beautifully colored Bentley. I honestly think that I could drive a Bentley if it was painted that color. Shout out to Fabi Go in the chats. I know it's not your color, the blue, but I know that you would approve. Well, I hope you would approve of it. Skuman, who was our race leader for so long in this hour and 25-minute race, lost it down the Conrad Straight, playing around with back markers. Not quite sure what happened in detail. We did go back and check a little replay of the action. But Skuman here in 7th place does seem to be gapping himself away from Kadili for 8th. Kadili not able to get that AMG round here like he can at other circuits. And, of course, running with that extra weight added in, which I'm hoping that I can find out more detail on, which I have no idea. Colin was asking about the names after above the car. Yeah, that's just their ping, so I'm glad that the chat helped you out, Colin. I'm sorry I'm bad at reading the chats while we do shoutcasting things for RaceFace. I get too excited. And it's definitely Bathurst, which is a track that I don't like to drive, but I do like to cast. There's never not action. You know, there's always someone doing something or passing a lapped car or trying to squeeze their way into a new position. and at the same time, the track is just permanently, like everything in Australia, trying to murder you. I'm sorry, Australians. I refer to your wildlife, like the spiders and the snakes and the... Guys have scary spiders and snakes. Not a fan. Definitely not going to Australia. But I would go to Australia, I suppose, if I probably wouldn't. It's a bit of a dangerous... Yeah, too many snakes and spiders. We're going to skip on that. So Dejan Cap is up into third after all the pit stops are said and done. So things working out again for the number 321 McLaren. And a lonely McLaren almost on the timing sheet because Hutton has dropped down to 23rd. So in this view, we can still see him, a lonely McLaren down at the bottom. But Dejan Cap for 2C's Motorsports there. Going to be having a great run, finding himself on the podium for the provisional time being. 30 minutes, of course, to go. Grayling, the man who was catching down onto the back of Skuman for so long before the big mistake was made, now has to catch up to Morgan McCall. And Morgan McCall, very talented young driver. We've seen his talents in the Solidarity E-Race side. We've seen him, showcasing it when he comes and races out at Monday Night Racing. And here in RaceFace as well. Also just a dominant force. McCall, he's got a younger brother, Yuppie, Junior McCall. I think he's 11 or 12, also insanely fast. So the two brothers McCall, dangerous in the sim racing community. And definitely two names to look out for in the future. So McCall going to be getting on the flashy button to just allow the back markers in front of him to know that he is coming as quick as he can and wants to make a quick and easy pass. Does not want to lose time to these guys and allow Grayling in that Lamborghini any option of catching up. And Grayling does have pace. I mean, his last lap time was a 203.5, which means that Morgan McCall's was a 203.8, so he's 3/10 quicker on a lap. And Morgan McCall, if he's been glancing down at that timing sheet, will know it and does not want the next pile of back markers to cause an issue. So let's go see where Strauss is battling out here on track. He's obviously got the race leader coming up. He's got Hendricks in front of him by 1.5 seconds. So just wants to find an easy place to let the race leader past. Doesn't want to compromise his own race, currently holding down 12th. And of course with Hendricks within, make that 1 second. Hendricks made a big mistake coming up to the skyline. And that's always a place that once you're at the top in the plateau, you don't want to make a mistake there because you're coming down through the technical section, the dip and the S's. You just want to have full confidence in your car and your driving ability. And we see Strauss is hunting Hendricks, hunting him down. And they're going to come on to Conrad. Not quite close enough to do anything. Strauss will be trying to find a slipstream. Will be a little bit far back. But McCall, our race leader, not yet able to get by on Strauss and not quite getting affected by where he's driving on track at the moment either. But Grayling is trying to catch up here. And it's all going to be down to the next couple of laps. So let's see. 203.8 from McCall previously and a 203.5 from Grayling. They're going to come down to Murray's corner and we'll see what their timing sheets indicate. Let's see if the back markers caused a little bit of an issue for the guys here. So 204.8 coming out from McCall again and a 203.7 coming out from Grayling. So Grayling is honestly on the hunt. McCall needs to be careful. 30 minutes of racing to go. Dejan Cup is going to be in third. He does have Gray coming to unlap himself. So, of course, Gray out of position here in 21st. Definitely didn't have the best race that he wanted and has found himself caught up behind a bunch of cars. A couple laps down as well. Make that 2 laps down. So, Gray needs to go and get the move on if he wants to improve his position. Has found himself into 20th. So, that's not a bad place considering the race that was going down. Who does Strauss have on his tail? It's still McCall. So Strauss Still going to be bothered by McCall. Still not the place at the top of the mountain that he wants to let him by. And McCall here will not want to be held up at all. And he's going to get himself... it's also a bit of timing from, where you're going to find back markers. And there's not really a place that you can get things done here. Grayling is going to be on the hunt of McCall as he hopes that Strauss does not make the move to get unlapped or to overlap, to lap him easy. Oh, getting tumbled up in my words. I'm just too excited. Grayling and McCall, it's going to heat up. 30 minutes to go. I'm so excited. Ooh, McCall. No. That is not what McCall wanted. Let's just jump back and just... okay, we went a little bit too far back. So, coming down Conrad. McCall does have Grayling chasing him down. And I think he just kind of... Yeah, it was the curb. It was a bit of curb murder. And just like that, Grayling, the pressure on McCall, forces a mistake out of the older McCall brother and takes over the race lead. So 27 minutes of racing remain, which means anything like that can still happen. But Grayling, for now, will take over the race lead. The Lamborghini finally gets a spot up at the front. We saw Porsches a lot of the way with Skuman and McCall. Grayling did have a little dabble, but it was all about that pit stop that McCall had, and the mistake that was made there has definitely opened up the opportunities for Grayling here to just have a fantastic race. We've seen him have the pace, the race pace. I believe, does he have the quickest lap in the race? He does. So a 203.147 is going to be... No, that's going to be McCall's fastest lap. A 203.093 will be the fastest lap coming out from Grayling. I mean, Grayling just having a great drive. What more can you say about someone that looks to be on the peak of their sim racing ability at the moment? We'll get passed on to Hendricks. So lapping 10th place there, Grayling. Insane race pace coming out. Let's jump down and see what happened to Daniel Skuman. Of course, that big incident on Conrad, taking him from first place, leading the race, down into 7th. Cianaren, he's also just had such a good, consistent race. I mean, he's just been making up positions. Every time we switch back to this Bentley, he just seems to find a new place. So into 6th. The Geek Racers will be grinning. On our timing sheets, it looks like Antel and Janssen will be... Oh, they will be scrapping it out a bit here. They're going to come down through Skyline. We're right on board with Antel. I did not choose the Porsche because it was a Porsche. And it sounds amazing. It just so happened that it was the follow car. Oh, they're going to go on the inside. Wide from Janssen. Antel on the inside. Forest elbow belongs to Mark Antel. And down at the Conrad Straight. An easy bit of overtaking for the Porsche. Again, not biased, but, if you choose a Porsche, that's what happens. Still waiting for Porsche to sponsor me. So, Porsche, if you're listening, I don't know, you guys haven't reached out into my DMs yet, which is disappointing. But I like a 911 in whatever color you actually provided, so I'm not going to be too picky. It must just have cool rims. I'd like a cool spec of rims. So Gabba, a driver that I talked about earlier, I said that his livery I talked about it in the first stream, should I say, which we did week 1. We missed last week at Zolder. But week 1, I did say that this is the perfect car to have a NVIDIA sponsor on the back wing, and he didn't have it at the time. I asked him to please make the changes and just, you know, make me happy so that I could call things like that. And let's see if he's done it. I mean, it looks like an NVIDIA sponsor. It's a bit far. It's the worst camera angle in the world from the helicopter. But I mean, there's a lot of trees and you can't fly too close to the mountain. There's power lines and you can't really blame the helicopter driver for all of that. But I do believe it is the NVIDIA logo. I could free cam it. But at the same time, the free cam is also, it's a dangerous mode. Let's just try it. Let's see. If I break it, I apologize. Oh, yes. There we go. Oh, NVIDIA. The reveal is there. Gaber has listened the NVIDIA logo on his Porsche. I do appreciate it. So he's going to go past the back marker of Mayer. I did drop my controller down the stairs, so we'll have to retrieve that later. Awkward. We definitely can't retrieve that now. It is all the way at the bottom of the staircase. So Grayling leads. Second place, Morgan McCall. Dian Cap in third. He's got a little bit of a way to catch up to McCall. Then we've got Brandon Kruger in fourth. Bernard King in fifth. Amrish Sienorain in sixth. Daniel Skuman in seventh. Bruno Kadili holds down eighth. Ninth for Paul Gaber in that beautiful Porsche. No bias. And 10th for Noah Hendricks in his Ferrari for Am to play. Strauss, he's close to getting into that top 10. He's got Hendricks in his sights. And Strauss has been looking comfy in that Audi. You see not a scratch on it either. So definitely loving his Audi here at Bathurst. And now wants to find himself in that top 10. EKZ Motorsports would be very proud if Strauss could get himself into the top 10. So he'll be representing his team as Cornet tries to chase down onto Noah Hendricks. They do have the race leader once again, or the old race leader, should I say. Second place of Morgan McCall, once again flashing to get lights by. Previously, when McCall was coming to pass on Strauss, lost it through the chase. And right now, needs to try and get himself past if he does want to chase down Krayling. Krayling doing a 203.093, 205.8 as his last lap, a 204.7 from Morgan McCall. So if Morgan McCall can get past this traffic, you know, Strauss doing such good things there. You know, sacrificing a top 10 there to let McCall by. Let's just talk about racecraft quickly. McCall is in second place. Strauss just gave up that chase on Hendricks to let him by. Hendricks going to let McCall go past on the outside as well. Definitely a better place for Hendricks to let him go by, but Strauss doing the right thing and just letting the Foster driver a lap ahead go and chase down on the race leader. So hopefully Strauss will be able to catch back up. Oh, he does find himself in 10th. Who dropped out? Did someone drop? Do we have lost another? We've got 27 people in the order. Let me just pull up the timetables. You guys can see the full order all the way down to 24th place.
Pit window is now closed.
So our pit window is closed. That means that if you haven't done your pit stop, naughty, naughty. But everybody has. So, you know, you would expect that from the Pro Division. If the Pro Division missed the pit window, which was almost what felt like an hour long, I think it was 45 minutes. If you missed that, then, you know, there's bigger things that we need to talk about. Things like my controller, which I threw down my staircase whilst trying to do a free cam in ACC. I mean, that's definitely a talking point. I'm hoping that I find it in less than 10 pieces is what I predict. By the sound of what I heard, it's like 100 pieces. It's okay. I'll sort out the new free camera modes. We've got spare ones here for our final race. Kadili in 7th at this point in time. Doesn't really have too much going on around him. Skuman is 7.5 seconds up the road. And he's got Gabe behind him by about 10 seconds. So Kadili feeling okay. Gabe, of course, in that situation. Hendricks doesn't have the bother of Strauss. He's almost 14.5 seconds down the road from him now. What hasn't worked out is something for Kruger. I mean, Kruger was definitely in a much better position than where he is here. He was right behind King, so I believe that Kruger's had a bit of an incident. He's the guy that's dropped down the order. I'm not even sure when that happened, but from what it looks like, it can't have been too long ago. Maybe 2 or 3 laps, but Kruger down to 11th. And that was obviously where Strauss got into his top 10. So Strauss, happy with his top 10. Gonna ease off, I guess, on that chase down to Hendricks in front. Kieran Patterson, the number 1, 2, 3, and 13th at the moment. Porsche looking a little bit banged up, in the Bathurst walls looking like they've definitely clawed their way at some of the paintwork. I did want to talk about Bathurst Hugo's pit stop. He was sort of in 10th place up until he had to sort of jump into the pits finally. Does come back out in 15th. Just remember, started in 30th, right at the back of the grid. So made up 15 positions throughout the race. And with a field like this, that's that's a noddy badge and a pat on the back itself. So to the RaceFace league owner himself, Bathurst Hugo, thank you for all the hard work that you do putting into RaceFace. And also great to get to see you racing in the events as well. I'm always, I like to give you a bit of stick with where you start. But it's all about how you finish. And, lining up a 15th place for the moment. A great showing. Mark Ansel, a Porsche that we saw at the front early on. And unfortunately, 16th place for now. The 111 Team Isolation. Not on track for position, doesn't have anybody around, is currently passing some back markers. Like I said, I did expect a little bit more of a closer battle on track between some of the mid-pack. Here we see a battle between 17th and 18th, De Wet and Janssen. That number 64, Ferrari, trying to catch up and take that number 9, Ferrari. Ferrari versus Ferrari. Yeah, why is Kadili in 7th? He's a beast on this track. I'm asking the questions in the chat. I mean, the 50 kilo weights on there, I don't know what the weight side of things are. I'm not sure. I didn't quite read on that side of things. I only saw them when I toggled to this the other, at the start. So I'm not quite sure, but Bruno definitely not having the best race that we've seen him capable of. We know what a beast he is here. Maybe not 100% happy in the Mercedes. I'm really not sure on its BOP here overall. But yeah, definitely strange to see Kadili in 7th. I agree with you, Amp. But nonetheless, good to see a whole bunch of new drivers in the top 10. If you compare qualifying and the start of the race to now, things have changed up. So there's McCall catching up to Grayling now. They've both got themselves some free air. 6.5 seconds up the road, Grayling from McCall. Let's just see how that sort of evolves over the next couple of laps and see if we're going to see a last minute showdown right at the very end. Has Krayling dropped out? Krayling's dropped. Krayling has dropped out of the race, guys. I've just tried to switch to him. I just noticed his timing sheets, and he seems to have dropped out of the race. Morgan McCall will take over the race victory. So the leader dropping out with less than 15 minutes to go. Johannes Krayling drops out. And that allows Morgan McCall up into first. Dian Cup into second. Now Krayling's back. He's back in again. Wait. I don't even know what just happened. Did he go? I'm very confused as to what has just happened, because Krayling is now back into... something is not making sense with what... I didn't know you could... Can you DC from AC? Like ACC? Like He 100% was out of the running and jumped back to the pits. Like you couldn't even select his car. It wasn't in the lobby. I don't actually know what's happened there. So Morgan McCall will take over first. Jan Cap in second. Amris Senaren in third. Daniel Skuman. He's pretty close to getting a podium finisher into fourth. Bruno Kadili into fifth. Paul Gabbe into sixth. The Magic Man himself, Krayling, somehow in seventh now. Bernard King in eighth. Noah Hendricks in ninth. And Brandon Kruger in 10th. So... can you now rejoin a game session? I mean, you used to be able to rejoin, and then they took that functionality out, and I don't know if it's ever been added back in, but I mean, he did seem to disconnect and come back in, so it seems like that's possible in ACC now. And I do believe that AMP cursed Krayling, so viewer's curse? Yes, we'll call that a viewer's curse. Okay, so that battle between Antal and Patterson not for position. Let's just see if any of these other battles are anywhere closer together. Of course, Janssen and De Wet still going to be just matching each other, pace for pace. I mean, what has Janssen done? A 207.443 his last lap. A 207.7 from De Wet. So, Janssen going to go up the inside as De Wet made a mistake as they come into the cutting. Not a place you want to go side by side. And they are going to attempt it. Janssen going to be forced very wide. And he's going to have to accept that he's going to have to tuck back into De Wet. Definitely not an easy place to make an overtake. And Janssen learning just that. The cutting saying, nope, rope. Settle petal. The Vet is going to hold off. And I mean, this is the battle for 17th and 18th. And that's what I love about racing as well. It doesn't matter where you are in the pack. You know, you're always fighting someone. And at the end of the day, if you just get one position right at the very end, such a great feeling. So rewarding. So I thought that Cap may have some problems with Senera in there. But it's not. It's Berger who was just blipping at the timing screens, making us go and have a little look. So with 10 minutes left to go, second place for Cap, looking good there. Senerain for third. He is a little bit down the way. I mean, he's only making his way up the mountain, whilst first and second are already well on their way down. So a big gap for Senerain to make up, but it doesn't matter. Third place is third place. Skuman is also quite far off of Senerain, almost 20 seconds. So if he wants to catch back up, we do know he has the pace. His Porsche is looking like it is repaired from before his accident. And obviously with the pace that he has done a 202.6. So that is the fastest lap in the race. 202.658 coming out from Skuman here. Yeah, Fabian, it's super weird. I mean, I've never seen a driver like disconnect. I mean, he was in first place, dropped out, then rejoined, then drove out of the pits into 7th. So managed to get a rejoin in there. So I wonder if they've patched that in. There's a pity right at the end when things like that happen. Janssen and De Wet. It's not the battle of Janssen and De Wet. Oh, De Wet's dropped back. De Wet's made the mistake, so Janssen gets on by. And now Grayling, obviously wanting to get past on the blue flags. Not an easy area for Janssen to do this after just getting past De Wet. Doesn't want to just give it away, but will do so at the plateau. And not going to lose too much time before Skyline. De Wet, he was just holding off his place, has unfortunately dropped back on it. So unless he can catch back up or Janssen can make a similar mistake, I mean, based on their pace, it's going to be hard for him to get that place back. Janssen will know this. They have been fighting from the start, and it will really be down to the very end. The man who hasn't had much luck either, of course, Grobler. This will be Bago. Finds himself in 10th place. Patterson running wide. Oh, catching a curb. Catching some sausage too. Patterson, big wide. Big crash coming out there from Patterson. And I'm not sure if he actually caught into any of the other drivers as well. But Patterson there. Let's just see what happened on the exit. So yeah, we'll catch up with the action through the chase. And it's down for the hard left-hander. And he into the right, and I think he ran wide, touched the curb. Then the wheel got caught on the sausages. Oh! Comes across. Does he collect anyone on the back here? Mayer. Oh, avoidance coming out from Mayer. Manages to get on by, and oh! Patterson lucky there not to collect. Grayling does move almost at the wrong time. But there's just so many cars on the track, I suppose. You never know when you're actually good to go. 6 minutes 43 seconds remain here at Bathurst. Mount Panorama. It's just gone 7 o'clock in the sim time. We see Patterson collecting some more of that Audi barrier in the background there of McCall coming up through the cutting. So if you guys are curious, the track temperature after an hour and 12 minutes of racing would be currently sitting at 22 degrees. So track and ambient temperature identical. 7 o'clock seems to be the sweet spot there. And McCall is at a good, consistent race. I mean, if we're going to talk about the consistency that he had, didn't really feature too much in terms of battles. We didn't really see too much fights on track, but had an early pit stop, which the undercut definitely worked out when he resumed taking the lead over on Grayling. So Kruger now and Hendricks, 5 minutes to go. This could be the last 5-minute battle that I wanted to see. Hendricks going to go for the inside line. They're going to come down the chase. They're going to go through it side by side at the end of Conrad. Hendricks on the outside, giving each other room. Back onto the anchors. Hendricks going to be on the outside. And it looks like Kruger getting the work done in the Lexus. Brandon Kruger going to take 8th place off of Hendricks' hands in the closing 5 minutes of the race. We do know that Kruger had the pace earlier on in the race, dropped down from his teammate a little bit, and unfortunately there was a bit of a quicker driver. So now we'll be in shot with King, his teammate from the Rad Races. The two Lexuses make their way down. Are there any more Lexuses in this one? I'm not actually sure if we have more. Let's just see if we do have any more Lexuses. I don't believe we do. I believe this is all of them. So we only had these two, and they currently lap together. Yeah, the battle for P1 could be here. I mean, there's 3 seconds gap between Cap and McCall. McCall going to come into traffic now. We do see all of them on the start-finish straight. 2.5 seconds gap between Cap and McCall. Cap with a great run out of Forest Elbow onto Conrad Straight. Make that almost 2 seconds. So Cap is hunting McCall on the flashy lights button. The panic is setting in. He does not want to get caught up behind back markers. He does not want to lose this first place that he's fought for. The Porsche that he's driving around here looks banged up for sure. And I'm not sure if he's losing out on top end down the straight. But Dejan Cap's 720S looks like it just came out of the showroom. And I'm pretty sure he wants to stretch its legs down the mountain straight. So Cap going to be behind Hugo. Hugo going to peel away and allow the second place sitter to get on by. Our gap has gone back up to 2.2 seconds. Back down to 2.1 seconds. So coming down the straights, I do feel like McCall is losing out on top end. Even with a bad exit from Cap going wide and having to go side by side, Cap can definitely catch back up to McCall. Let's go and jump on board with Cap for a little bit. We'll get to hear the beautiful sound of the McLaren 720S as it makes its way up the mountain. What feels like a calm, collected section is actually a vicious left-hander with a dangerous wall on the right side. Make that 2 of them. If you touch the curbing on the right and run too wide onto the dirt, it's just overs. And down through Skyline, the commentator's curse on the onboard. Dejan Cap going to have to get onto the brake pedal and avoid missing or gaining an advantage and picking up a drive-through penalty. That's going to drop him down to 2 seconds again. So, I mean, he didn't lose out too much, really. The game being quite lenient in allowing Cap to get on by there without picking up a penalty. You will have the slipstream of Janssen here as well. And that gap is going to be a second big with a lap to go. So Janssen going to jump out of the way. Cap and McCall. It's a second to go on the final lap. McCall and Cap. The battle between McLaren and Porsche. The 888 versus the 321. And Dejan Cap, this is his race to win right now. I mean, he's made up all the time. We get confirmation that our leader is on his final lap. McCall versus Cap. I mean, Bathurst, a track that it's hard to pass. The places that you can do so on the straights. And once you do that, it's there to defend. So McCall and Cap now will be roaring down the mountain straight. Mayer will be a back marker not in this battle. Pulls himself out of the way. 0.2 of a second separate them as they come up towards the cutting. There was nothing through Griffins, and McCall trying to be defensive here may cost himself some time too, but Dejan Cap needs to be careful of having his exit compromised. If you get backed up too much, it really does affect you there, and McCall is going to squeeze a couple of tenths between himself and Cap. They are on the final lap here. They are coming up to back markers. Bago going to jump out of the way. Cap and McCall coming through Skyline now, making their way down the mountain. The descent begins. The final descent here for round 3 of RaceFace's GT3 Season 2. And what a great race we've had at Bathurst. McCall and Cap have driven phenomenally, and they'll come around Forest Elbow onto the Conrod Straight. Just a second behind one another. Call that 7/10. McCall and Cap. McCall will lead for now. I don't even know if I'll have time to do all my cool fancy camera angles. It's too intense. I'm gonna try it. I found another emotes that I lost. Right at the end, Deon Cap going to come down and have a look. They have touched. Cap going to get squeezed on wide. He's going to be sent onto the grass. Morgan McCall right at the end. Deon Cap tried to have a little look. This Porsche banged up and worse for wears. But Morgan McCall, the number 888, will cross the line. Our race victor here at Bathurst. Deon Cap will cross the line in second place there. A little bit of contact right at the end. Third place will belong to Amrish Sienerain as he comes through the chase for the final time. But what a race, what a finish it was. And a little bit of contact right at the end. Luckily, Deon Cap didn't get sent off into the barriers too far. And, right now, Sienerain going to be our third place on the podium. Let's see where the rest of the field comes as he crosses the line. I'll pull up the timetable sheet as well so you guys can also see. Looks like Bruno Kadili is going to come across for 4th place. Daniel Skuman will take 5th. Paul Gaber, provisionally, I say this, I mean, they could run out of fuel right at the end and balk up all my things or crash. Paul Gaber looks like he'll be in 6th. 7th place for Bernard King. 8th for Kruger, 9th for Hendricks, and 10th place for Corne Strauss. So that pretty much rounds up the action here at Bathurst. It was insane. I absolutely loved it. I had a great fight right at the end. I couldn't have asked for better. And I just wanted to thank you guys for all tuning in and joining me. We'll be back again soon. I think I'll be back. Well, we'll be back for RLM tomorrow, and then we'll do more RLM on Saturday, and then next week we got more Dominus, and then we got RaceFace again. So yeah, lots of commentary and shoutcasting coming up. And yeah, thanks guys. I really had a good one. I'll see you guys soon.